If you haven't flown internationally in the last few years, I need you to listen to me very carefully. The airport immigration hall, you remember? The one with a long, boring line and a tired officer stamping passports, is gone. We are approaching 2026, and the rules of engagement at the border have fundamentally shifted. You are no longer just being judged on your passport. You are being judged on your behavior, your body language, and your ability to answer rapid-fire questions under pressure. The interrogation doesn't start when you walk up to the desk. It starts the moment you step off the plane. Airports are increasingly using what industry insiders call passive behavioral analysis. Cameras with algorithmic software and plainclothes officers hidden in the crowd are watching the immigration queue. They aren't looking for terrorists with bombs. They're looking for micro-expressions of deception. And here is the terrifying part for my audience over 60. The natural signs of aging: shaking hands because you're tired, sweating because the terminal is hot, confusion because the signage is poor, or just plain old nervousness. Those are all flagged by the system as signs of guilt. Let me tell you about a lovely couple I met just last month. Let's call them the Martins, both in their late 70s. They were arguing quietly in the line about whether their hotel was on Maple Street or Oak Street. They were flustered. They were tired after an 8-hour flight. A roving officer spotted their agitated behavior. Before they even reached the front of the line, they were pulled aside. They spent 4 hours in a windowless secondary interrogation room, separated from each other, because their simple confusion was flagged as suspicious inconsistency. They missed their connecting flight. Their blood pressure went through the roof. It ruined the first week of their vacation. This is happening every single day. If you don't know the script, if you don't know exactly what these officers are asking and why they are asking it, you are walking into a trap. Hi everyone, I'm Sophia. For 15 years, I have been a flight attendant on major international routes. I have spent thousands of hours in the air, but some of the most important work I do happens on the ground. I've seen it all. I've held the hands of seniors who were deported because they said the wrong 3 words to an officer. I've seen grandmothers treated like criminals because of how they packed their medication. I am known as the guardian of travel because I refuse to let the industry leave you behind. My training isn't just about serving coffee. It includes spotting security risks and understanding the psychology of border control. I see how these officers operate daily. In this video, I am not just giving you a list of questions. I am going to translate officer speak into plain English. I'm going to expose the hidden agendas behind the 13 most common questions you will face in 2026. My goal is to turn your anxiety into authority. I want you to walk up to that desk, look that officer in the eye, and breeze through that final barrier, so you can hug your grandkids or start your vacation. So please, grab a notepad. This information is vital. Let's start with the most common and most dangerous question of all. The officer looks at your passport, then looks up at you, and says flatly, "What is the purpose of your trip today?" Or, "Are you here for business or pleasure?" This sounds simple. It is not. The officer is looking for what we call the one-word mismatch. Every visa has a strict category. A tourist visa means tourism. A business visa means meetings, not work. The officer wants a concise answer that perfectly aligns with the visa you are holding. They are listening for oversharing. Nervous people talk too much. They give unnecessary details that open doors for more questions. Here is the biggest trap for seniors: the grandchild trigger. So many of you are traveling to see new grandbabies. It's a joyous occasion. So, when the officer asks why you're there, you beam with pride and say, "Oh, I'm here to help my daughter with the new baby. I'm going to be babysitting full-time so she can go back to work." Stop. You have just confessed to a crime in many countries. In the USA, the UK, and Canada, helping out by providing full-time childcare that would normally be a paid job is considered unauthorized work. It doesn't matter that no money is changing hands. You are displacing a local worker, a nanny. I will never forget Mrs. Petrova, a sweet grandmother flying from Eastern Europe to London. She told the officer proudly that she was coming for 6 months to take care of the children, while her son and daughter-in-law worked. Her tourist visa was canceled on the spot. She was put on the next plane back. She received a 5-year ban from entering the UK, all because she used the wrong words to describe a grandmother's love. Be concise. Do not volunteer information. If you are visiting family, do not say helping or babysitting. Say, I am visiting family for a short holiday. If they ask what you will be doing, say, spending quality time with my children and grandchildren as a tourist. For tourism, simply say tourism and sightseeing. Stand tall. Make eye contact. Speak clearly. Do not ramble. Give the answer. Stop talking and wait for the next question. This next set of questions feels intrusive, but you must answer them confidently. How will you support yourself during your stay? Or how much cash are you carrying right now? The officer is assessing if you are a public charge risk. They need to know with absolute certainty that you have enough money to pay for your hotel, your food, your transport, and any emergencies without relying on their country's welfare system, healthcare system, or crucially, resorting to illegal work to pay your way. If your stated length of stay doesn't match your apparent funds, you are a red flag. If they don't believe you can afford the trip, it is immediate deportation. It doesn't matter if you have a return ticket. If you can't pay for the time in between, you aren't getting in. I had a passenger, Mr. Davies, a retiree from Canada, flying to Florida for the winter, a 3-month trip. He was old school. He didn't trust credit cards. He carried $200 in US cash in his wallet. When the officer asked how he was paying for 3 months in Florida, he said, "Oh, my son is picking me up. He pays for everything." Officer, does your son know you have only $200? Do you have proof he is paying? A bank statement from him? A letter of support? Mr. Davies had nothing. He just assumed his word was enough. It wasn't. He was held for 6 hours until his son could fax bank documents to the airport. He nearly missed his entry entirely. You need to prepare a proof of funds portfolio. Do not carry more than $10,000 cash. Triggers massive customs paperwork and suspicion of money laundering. Do not do it. Carry a reasonable amount, $200 to $500 for immediate needs. When asked how you are paying, say, I have sufficient funds via credit cards and savings. Before you fly, download the most recent PDF statement from your bank and your credit card company onto your phone. Make sure it shows your name and your available balance/credit limit. You don't need to offer it, but you must have it ready to show if asked. If your children are funding the trip, you need a signed letter from them stating they are covering all expenses, along with a copy of their bank statement showing they can afford to do so. This third point seems so minor, but it causes major panic attacks at the border. Where exactly are you staying? Or what is the full address of your hotel? The officer is testing the legitimacy and solidity of your plan. A legitimate traveler knows where they are sleeping tonight. A vague answer, like, "Oh, some hotel downtown, my daughter booked it," suggests you might not have a plan, which means you are a risk. Worse, for drug interdiction officers, someone who doesn't know their final destination is often a mule, someone carrying a package who is waiting for instructions upon arrival. This is where travel fatigue hits seniors hard. You've been on a plane for 10 hours. You're dehydrated. You're stressed. When a man in a uniform barks, "What's the address?" your mind can go completely blank. It's called transient global amnesia, triggered by stress. If you freeze up and can't answer, the officer won't think, "Oh, poor thing is tired." They will think they are hiding something. This triggers a secondary inspection and a medical wellness hold, causing massive delays. I had a passenger visiting her son who had just moved. She was relying on her phone for the address. "It's in my texts," she told me on the plane. Well, her phone battery died before we landed. She got to the desk, couldn't remember the new address, couldn't turn on her phone, and didn't have it written down. She was stuck at immigration for 2 hours while they tried to track down her son. She was weeping by the time she got through. You must follow the index card rule. Do not rely on your phone battery or airport Wi-Fi. Before you leave home, take a 3x5 index card. Write down, clearly in pen, the full name of the hotel or the person you are staying with, the complete street address including postal code, a working phone number for the hotel or your host. Keep this card in your passport wallet, easily accessible. When the officer asks where you are staying, do not fumble for your phone. Pull out the card and hand it to them, or read directly from it. Say, "I am staying at this location." It shows you are prepared, organized, and have nothing to hide. We're just getting started. Those were just the warm-up questions. In part 2, we are going to tackle the incredibly tricky questions about how long you are staying and the absolute minefield of traveling with medication in 2026. You do not want to miss that. If you take only one thing away from this video, let it be this. This is the mistake that sends passengers from the airport directly to the emergency room. It is the gate check trap. You've seen it. You're standing in the boarding lane, and the agent gets on the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is a full flight. Overhead bin space is full. We are forcing all roller bags to be checked at the gate." They come down the line, tagging bags aggressively. They are in a rush. They grab your carry-on, slap a tag on it, and throw it down the chute to the cargo hold. Here is what they don't tell you in that moment of panic. The new plane interiors being rolled out for 2026, often called space bins or sky interiors, are deceptively designed. While they hold more bags, the airlines are selling more tickets than ever before. They are intentionally overbooking bin space. But here is the dangerous part. The agent at the gate does not know what is in your bag. They assume it's just clothes. I will never forget Mr. Henderson. He was a sweet man, flying from Chicago to London. At the gate, the agent pressured him. "Sir, we need your bag now. People are waiting." Mr. Henderson felt bad. He handed over his carry-on. Inside that bag were his blood pressure medication and his CPAP machine for sleep apnea. 3 hours into the flight over the Atlantic, we hit turbulence. The stress triggered a hypertensive episode. He reached for his bag, and then he remembered. It was 30,000 feet below us in the cargo hold. We had to use the onboard emergency kit, which is basic. We nearly diverted the plane. When we landed, his bag didn't even arrive at the carousel. It had been misrouted to Frankfurt. He was in a foreign country, without his heart medication, for 48 hours. There is also a second danger: lithium-ion batteries. If you have a portable charger, an iPad, or a spare camera battery in that bag, and it goes into the cargo hold, it is a fire risk. If a battery catches fire in the cabin, we can extinguish it. If it catches fire in the cargo hold, it can bring down the plane. You must use the medical bag loophole. Under DOT, Department of Transportation regulations, and most international laws, medical devices and supplies do not count towards your carry-on limit. Do not pack your meds in your main carry-on. Pack them in a separate, small tote bag or a distinct colored pouch. When the agent reaches for your bag to gate check it, you physically pull that medical pouch out and hold it tight against your chest. You say, I am removing my medical supplies and lithium batteries as per safety regulations. Do not ask for permission. Tell them. If they try to take the medical bag, you say, "This is exempt medical equipment. I require it on board." They will back off immediately. Now let's talk about the paperwork. If you are holding a US passport and think you can just breeze into Europe like you did in 2018, stop. That world is gone. Two massive bureaucratic walls are hitting us simultaneously. First, for my American viewers flying domestically, Real ID. By May 2025, and fully enforced in 2026, your standard driver's license will not get you through TSA. If it doesn't have the black star in the corner, you are not flying. Period. Second, and more confusing, ETIAS, the European Travel Information and Authorization System. Airlines are terrified of this. If an airline accidentally lets you board a flight to Rome without an ETIAS approval, the EU fines the airline thousands of euros per passenger. Because of this, the check-in agents are instructed to be ruthless. There is no letting it slide. I had a couple, the Millers, flying to celebrate their 50th wedding anniversary in Paris. They had their passports. They had their tickets. They showed up at the counter in New York. The agent asked, "Do you have your ETIAS approval code?" They looked at each other. "What code? We're Americans. We don't need a visa." The agent shook her head. "It's not a visa, it's a travel waiver, and it takes 72 hours to process." They were denied boarding. No refund. 50 years of marriage, and they spent their anniversary in a cab going back home. It costs roughly €7. It lasts for 3 years. This is crucial. If you Google ETS application, the first 5 results are often scams. They look like official government sites, but will charge you $80 instead of €7. Go look at your driver's license. Is there a star? If not, make a DMV appointment today. Only use the official website ending in .europa.eu. Write that down, .europa.eu. If the site ends in .com or .org, you are likely on a third-party site that is ripping you off. Apply at least 1 week before you fly. Do not do this at the airport. The system is automated. No human can speed it up for you. This topic makes my blood boil. It is the single most shameful part of modern aviation, the treatment of passengers who need wheelchair assistance. You request a wheelchair when you book your ticket. You think, "Great, the airline will take care of me." The people pushing the wheelchairs do not work for the airline. They work for third-party contractors, companies you have never heard of. These workers are often paid minimum wage, have high turnover, and are critically understaffed. The airline washes its hands of responsibility the moment you step off the plane. We landed in Atlanta last summer. It was hot. I had 5 passengers needing wheelchairs. The contractor only sent 2 pushers. Those 2 pushers took 2 passengers and left. 3 of my seniors were left sitting in the jet bridge, that accordion tunnel between the plane and the airport. It is not air-conditioned well. There are no bathrooms. The flight crew, us, had to leave to catch our next flight. The cleaners hadn't arrived yet. These passengers were stuck in the abandonment phase, a blind spot where no one is watching. One lady, Mrs. Gable, needed to use the restroom desperately. She tried to walk, fell, and fractured her wrist. Beyond the fall risk, there is the risk of DVT, deep vein thrombosis. Being forced to sit in a cramped aisle chair or a standard wheelchair for an extra hour after a long flight allows blood clots to form in the legs. You must use the squeaky wheel method. They always tell wheelchair passengers to wait until everyone else is off. If you have a connection or a medical need, politely decline. Remind the flight attendant, "I have a tight connection, medical need. Please call the ramp again." It shouldn't be this way, but money talks. If you see a wheelchair attendant, have a $5 or $10 bill visible in your hand. It signals to them that you are a priority. They are overworked and underpaid. They will gravitate toward the person who values their time. If you are left waiting for more than 15 minutes, do not just sit there. Stop any uniformed employee, pilot, cleaner, gate agent, and say, "I have been abandoned. Please radio the CRO, Complaint Resolution Official." Every airline is required by law to have a CRO on duty. That title scares them into action. Finally, let's talk about where you sit. You might think, "I'll just buy the cheapest ticket, basic economy. I don't need fancy perks." This is a trap that can physically hurt you. Basic economy is not just a cheaper ticket. It is a restrictive contract designed to punish you. Airlines use algorithms to deliberately split up families who travel on basic economy, to encourage them to pay for seat selection next time. If you and your spouse book basic economy, there is a 90% chance the computer will put one of you in row 34B, middle, and the other in row 12E, middle. They want you to be miserable. For a 25-year-old, a middle seat is annoying. For a 70-year-old, it is a health hazard. In a middle seat, you are boxed in. You are less likely to get up to stretch. This increases stiffness and blood clot risk. You will subconsciously stop drinking water because you don't want to ask the stranger in the aisle seat to move so you can use the bathroom. This leads to severe dehydration, which exacerbates jet lag and fatigue. I had a gentleman, Arthur, who had recently had hip surgery. He was in a middle seat. The person in the aisle seat fell asleep and was heavy. Arthur didn't want to wake him. He sat in one position for 6 hours. When we landed, Arthur physically could not stand up. His hip had locked. We had to call paramedics to lift him out of the seat. When you book, look for the single letter code. Avoid E, N, or X, often basic economy. Look for M, H, Q, K, main cabin. If you have any mobility issues, you must book an aisle seat. Do not hope for the best. If you cannot afford the upgrade, go to the gate agent immediately upon arrival and say, "I have a medical requirement for aisle access due to mobility limitations." They are not required to move you for free. But if you frame it as a medical safety issue rather than a comfort issue, they will often swap you with a non-senior passenger. We have covered the check-in, the security, and now the gate agent, and the seating. But in the final part of this video, I'm going to reveal the hydration paradox, why the water you drink on the plane might be making you sick, and I will give you my final life-saving checklist for 2026.